everyone, welcome to our preview video on statutes. Next week, we're going to finish up officially our unit on case law, but we will continue to research cases throughout this and next semester, so don't worry, they're not going away so fast. But we are going to transition into talking about statutes. Now, just a reminder, this is statutes, not statues, like the Statue of Liberty, but statutes. So make sure you've got that second T in there. So just by way of a reminder, what are statutes? Statutes are another form of primary law because they are written by a branch of the government. Remember, the legislative branch drafts the statutes. That means in this unit, we're going to learn how to find the laws written by the US Congress. We're also going to find the laws written by the Massachusetts legislature. We might spend a little bit of time looking at laws from other states too. But remember what we talked about very early on this semester with our federal system of government is that we have the federal law and we have a federal legislative branch, the US Congress. And of course, we have each state has its own legislature and they are also drafting laws. This is what we often think about with the lawmaking power, the actual writing of the statutes. So we're going to talk about how to locate these statutes. We're also going to spend some time talking about reading the statutes, but for right now, we're actually going to focus on how to find them first, which is a little different than what we did with cases, where we actually talked first about how to read a court case and then how to find them. We're going to do this one a little bit differently. We're going to talk about how to find the statutes first and then incorporate how to read them. Okay. So where are the statutes? After a legislative branch drafts a new law or amends an existing law, where does it go? We need to talk about that. But before I do that, I just want to quickly mention how are statutes written? I do not want to spend more than just a few seconds on this because I'm hoping that all of you have received some experience, have some knowledge about how laws are made. And if you don't, please let me know and I will direct you to some good readings on the topic. But this is the legislative process. We elect our senators and representatives to the federal government and also the state government, and they write the laws. The process of doing that is to introduce a bill, which is a proposed law, and then the bill is assigned to committees within the legislative body that each have an area of expertise, and the committee debates and updates and changes the bill. And ultimately, the bill is brought to the full Senate and then the full House for a vote. And if it passes a majority of both houses, the House and the Senate, it is presented to the executive branch, either the governor or the president for his signature or her signature one day. And then that bill has become law. Again, there's a lot written and explained about this process, so please let me know if you'd like some more information. I am much more concerned about now that the law has passed. Where does it go? How do we find the current laws? And that's the other thing that I want to bring up also, is that when we research statutes, the goal is always to research the current law. What does the statute look like today? And that's really important because we just finished talking about learning about what happens with a court case after it's been decided. Statutes are a little different. When we research the law, 99% of the time, we want to know what is the law today. And so we are always wanting to look at the most current version of the statute. The legislature can add to a statute, can repeal and take back part of a statute, can amend and change the wording of a statute. But if we're concerned with if our criminal client is being charged with a crime, we want to know what the criminal code is today. It is possible to look back in time at what statutes looked like 10 years ago, 5 years ago, and that is another type of research called legislative history. I'm also not going to focus on legislative history in this class because most of the time we do not need to look back on what a statute looked like in the past, although there are times when you need to research that, and that is a little bit different. And the reason that's important is because when we get to talking about how to find statutes, you'll see that when we use Westlaw, or even if you were to go onto the website and find under the official state website the current version of statutes, we will always be looking at that current version. And if you did need to look back, then you need to go to a different type of process, that legislative history. Okay, so that's how laws are made, really, really briefly. Let's talk about where we can find them, where they're published. So Just like with cases, we have both official and unofficial publishing of the statutes. Here's the ones I for sure want you to know. Federal laws, the laws passed by the US Congress, are published by the federal government in a book called the US Code. There is also an unofficial version called the United States Code Annotated. That is the one published by West. So when we research on Westlaw, you will be reading it in the US Code Annotated. But again, it's the same thing. You're still reading the primary law. Massachusetts is published in a book called the Massachusetts General Laws. That's what we call our laws. Different states call them different. For example, I think on an earlier slide, I said Florida statutes. I think it's also called New Hampshire statutes. Ours happen to be called the Massachusetts General Laws. And then, of course, the unofficial is the Massachusetts General Laws Annotated. Now, please note that I give you here the proper Blue Book abbreviation for Massachusetts General Laws. You can refer to them as the MGL or the MGLA, but the proper citation format uses Mass Gen Laws. I just wanted to put that there so you would get used to it. The US Code and the US Code Annotated are referred to as the USC or the USCA. So here are the official and the unofficial. We will have an opportunity also to talk about why, again, the unofficial is a preferred method of doing research. But for now, you can go research the US Code, you can go research the Massachusetts General Laws, and you will find the laws of the legislature. Okay, how are codes organized? Remember when we talked about case law and we talked about the reporter system, those are organized by jurisdiction. All those reporters are organized by jurisdiction and then chronologically within that jurisdiction. Remember, if you were to open the Northeastern Reporter second series, you would see cases from the states that are in the Northeastern Reporter, and they would be in purely chronological order, no subject matter order whatsoever. The same thing with the Massachusetts Supreme Court reports. If you looked it up in the Massachusetts reports, you would find all the SJC decisions in chronological order. And we've been spending the last couple of weeks talking about how difficult it is to do case law research because cases are published chronologically. So I'm here to tell you that statutes are better. Not excellent, but better, because codes, which is what we call the books that publish statutes, are organized by subject matter. Yay! That should be a good thing. So we do organize our codes by subject matter. This means that within a jurisdiction, like Massachusetts, all of the laws related to crimes are together in the same area. All the laws related to, say, starting a corporation or a limited liability company, those laws are all together, and so on and so forth. Doesn't that already sound a little bit more helpful? It is. Now, it's not 100% there because one of the challenges is that these codes are not in alphabetical order. So it's not like you have to go to letter C to find the crimes and then go to later or near it and find C for corporations and then go to L for limited liability companies. So it's not by alphabetical at all. It's just by subject matter. Also, each code organizes their laws a little bit differently. For example, the United States Code is organized by title and then section number, whereas the Massachusetts General Laws is organized by chapter and section number. I do not need you to memorize how all 50 states have their codes organized. I just want you to be aware that it differs state to state. Now, within each subject matter, one area of research that is helpful is that we will have a table of contents for each subject area. So if you were to find that area on corporations or criminal law, you can actually peruse a whole table of contents just on that area, and it will list all the different crimes, for example. The same thing is true for like corporations or any other subject matter. So even though the whole code is not organized by alphabetizing the topics, once you find your area, the table of content is really helpful for finding the particular section you look for. The other resource we're going to spend even more time with is the subject matter index. Every code, the large volume of books where cases are published, has an index at the end of it. That's actually its own book because it's really big. And that is your gold mine, because every single potential law that you can think of is listed there by topic. So you look up your topic. Like if you want to know if there's any state laws about how to regulate zoos, you could look up the word zoo. And the index will point you to the chapter and section number. So we're going to spend a lot of time with the subject matter index. Okay, so this is just a little bit about how the codes are cited. Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 265, Section 1. And the United States Code looks a little different. They put the title number first, 18 U.S. Code, Section 1000-001. This symbol here, that's called the section symbol. I will show you where to find that, at least on Microsoft Word. And if not, you can always just write SEC. But take a look, sort of remember what the screen looks like, because this is how they are organized. I did also want to show you a little bit of how the statutes look themselves. So I'm going to see if while I'm recording, I can minimize my screen and take you over to, here we are. And now I'm on the website. This is the state's website, and you can find the Massachusetts general laws here. So feel free to Google this. I'm going to put it on your website, and you can find it yourself. And here are all the sections of the Massachusetts general laws. Now, please note, they are divided into parts, but we don't refer to the particular part. See over here where it says CH, we do refer to chapter. So for example, if I open up here, this is all the laws related to crimes, punishments, and proceedings in criminal cases. And if you open up here, starting with Chapter 263, you can see all the laws related to crimes and punishments. So I can go to 265, crimes against the person, and then it will show me all the different sections. So we just had said how Massachusetts general laws are organized by chapter and then section number. So here is Chapter 265. Section 1, definition of murder. Section 2, the punishment for murder. Section 3, duels. Section 4, accessory duels, and so on and so forth. Notice that some of them say they've been repealed. That means that section is no longer there, but it's almost like it's empty in the statute. I also here linked you to a free version of the United States Code. So take a look at all the different titles. You can see that the titles of the U.S. Code actually go all the way down to Title 54. So there's 54 titles to the U.S. Code. The government does sometimes add on titles, so this can be moved and changed. And then within here, you can see all the different subject matters. But again, notice that they're not, if you didn't know what you were looking for, it would be very difficult to find. And so I'll go through some examples in class. I happen to have given you Title 42, Section 18,001, and that happens to be where the Affordable Care Act is located. So you can spend some time looking for that as well. If I scroll down quickly, perhaps I can find it. I went too fast. All right, I won't use up our video time looking for that. I just wanted to give you an idea of how these statutes are organized by subject matter and not in any other way. But we will talk about how when you're researching statutes, and I'll do the part with Westlaw, I'll show you guys that in class, and it's very similar to what I just showed you free on the website, is that just like with cases, we're going to identify our key words. So if you need to find a statute and you don't have the citation, we come up with the key words for that statute. You can, if you are familiar with the code, go to that subject area and start looking at the table of contents for that area. Like if you know you're looking up a crime against a person, you can go to that section. But if you're not familiar with it or you don't want to spend time with the table of contents, read the subject matter index and look up the particular crime like arson or embezzlement in the subject matter index, and that will take you exactly to the right section of the code you're looking for. So what we're going to do in class next week is we're going to get some practice looking at the tables of contents, looking at the subject matter index, and then I will introduce you to this last piece here called annotations, which is a research tool that the West version of the United States Code annotated gives us. And it's a gold mine of information for us. So that was a very quick and very intense overview of what's to come next week. And I look forward to doing statutes with you guys then. Remember, statutes